The big question for you, Simon, did you enjoy the Fabergé egg beating the Frankenstein Club yesterday?
Without a single whiff of indifference, I paid very little attention to it. Watched the highlights. Wasn't surprised that a game of that magnitude resulted in the home side getting a win. I think it tells you that these games are difficult to play in. PSG, despite my dislike of some of their operation, have very good players and compete very well at certain stages in the Champions League. This defines and details nothing. It's a difficult game, but when it gets to the business end of the tournament, which I fully expect Man City to come through this group, we will see how the influence of top players like Lionel Messi come to the fore in the really big games. So the headlines will be Lionel Messi is the thing that Man City could have had, and Lionel Messi is this and Lionel Messi is that. But good players win games, but this is a tournament, and a tournament has many legs. And we're a long way from this race being run. So, you know, from the point of view of did I enjoy a Frankenstein Club getting beaten by a Fabergé egg, I have a degree of ambivalence towards it.
I thought it was the way around.
Yes, you're right. Well, no, Frankenstein Club getting beat by Fabergé eggs. So what way?
Getting beaten, you like that. Okay. Lionel Messi then obviously scored his first goal for PSG last night. He's had a sort of a funny start to life in Paris. I think that's fair to say. This Mbappe and Neymar trio hasn't quite, you know, reached full gear, shall we say? But having seen what he can do, as he did last night, Lionel Messi, is there going to be some City faithful thinking, "Oh, what could have been"?
Well, I certainly do feel that. From a City perspective, if you look at the timings and when he became available, when he was certainly going to leave Barcelona, I think Manchester City almost thought the Harry Kane deal was done. So without blaming Harry Kane, I feel if that would have been dead in the water by then and Messi became available, I think Manchester City would have gone all in for Messi. It didn't happen that way, and we missed out on him. And I think last night, you know, you've seen a glimpse of him. You've seen his brilliance. In general, he was poor in the game. Didn't really have much to do with the game apart from his goal, which, you know, kept them clear. Took them 2-0. Great goal as well. And I think the human aspects, you know, you've seen his delight and show real emotion after he scored. I thought that was fantastic to see because we know him as a superstar, and you feel he's done it so often, 600 odd games and all the rest of it, but it still means a lot to him, and I thought that showed that last night. I thought that was a great thing. But from a City perspective, I thought Manchester City played well. I thought it was very similar to the Chelsea performance. I thought they dictated play at times. You could see the patterns of play. I think there was a couple of off-key performances, possibly Mahrez. On that right-hand side of his end product would have been better. I think Manchester City could have got something out of that game. Raheem Sterling, very difficult to play as a 9 if you're not a natural number 9. I thought he tried his best, but it was one of them where it just didn't happen for him. And, you know, I heard Danny Mills this morning talking about, well, you need someone who's playing there week in, week out. Actually, from a forward perspective, you need that variety. You need different runs. You need because if you make the same runs all the time, it's easy for the defensive units to deal with that. So I think it is good that they rotate that number 9, especially because they've not got an out-and-out number 9. Jesus has done a good job in there. Torres has done a good job in there. I just feel last night against real elite central defenders, I thought Raheem struggled a little bit. But no, it was one of them games where, weirdly enough, I felt quite satisfied after watching the game, knowing, as what Simon just said, it's still early doors in the tournament. I think we'll definitely progress out of this group. But the signs were there. You know, Jack Grealish is keeping Raheem out of that left wing position because he was awesome. I thought the referee was quite harsh on him. But in general, I thought it was a really good performance. And on another day, we could have won that game.
I want to pick up on something you said about Raheem Sterling. It's another game that he's been played in that false number 9 role. They've drawn a blank as well. Is it proving that it doesn't work with him playing in that role? And does it also prove that come January they're going to have to get a striker in?
I think the latter is true. I think for me, you know, it was one of them where obviously Harry Kane, they tried and nearly got it over the line. It didn't quite happen because of the fees that were being asked to pay for Harry Kane, and it was too close to the end of the window to then start panicking and rushing to try and go for somebody else. I think the due diligence and the work that Manchester City put into picking their players, they were never going to do that. So I would have said, you know, looking at how spiky Pep is with his after game interviews, because he kind of anticipated this frustration because they didn't have a number 9 for the majority of last season, and some of the big moments in the big games, we're talking Champions League final, the semi-final against Chelsea at Wembley, you need a number 9 to do their job, and that's put the ball in the back of the net. And for a big reason last night, I thought that's why they didn't win the game, because they didn't have that number 9. So I would say behind the scenes, there's going to be workings going on to try and get someone in at January, because by the time these competitions come to the head, when you need big performances and you need them goals, I think they'll need somebody in there, and Manchester City know that.
In reference to your question, you're going to find it incredibly difficult to elicit any form of criticism from Trevor towards Raheem Sterling. Last week we had a list as long as a Magna Carta as to the reasons why he wasn't succeeding, and now it's because he's playing against world-class defenders.
Well, no, he's playing out of position.
Sure, but he's a world-class player according to you. So with due respect, he's got to be able to adapt. If he's now in a side where it's the conventional wisdom is suggesting that his preferred position is now going to be occupied by Jack Grealish, he has one of two decisions to make: step up and start to do what's required of you in the position that Pep puts you in, or leave the club. Because clearly, unless there's going to be a departure from what seems to be the indication that Jack Grealish is going to play in that position, what is Raheem Sterling going to do? Now, we have differences of opinion about him, about where he is on the food chain of world-class players. But when you're playing in a situation where what's required of you is to be at a certain level, I think he was quite off last night. And you can't suggest that because he's playing against world-class defenders, that's the reasons why, because you're either world-class as an offensive player or you're not. And I understand that it will be nullified, but the argument can't be run. You're
struggling to keep a straight face saying this, aren't you?
I'm not, because I know that you are so biased about this boy.
It's not that I'm so biased. I've played that 9 position, as a winger. So when I was at Blackpool as a young kid, me and Dave Bamber, big man, little man, I'd get on the end of his flicks. It was quite simple. Today's game's changed.
Sure.
It's so difficult to pick up certain positions, especially when you're in.
But hasn't that changed away from the conventional number 9 as well? Because the way that teams play now, I know we've got the argument, but the conventional number 9 is in such short supply. Who can we name them? Kane, Lewandowski, Haaland,
Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
But that's 4 that we can name in world football. So it means that by
Firmino,
definition,
he's probably adapted that a little bit.
Sort of player.
But what I'm saying is,
and that's what Sterling has to become.
You have to admit this, Simon, and we spoke about this before. The number 9 position, if you're playing up there on your own without a partner, is probably one of the most difficult. It's as specific as a goalkeeping position, where it's almost a different rules apply. At the end of the day, you're supposed to put the ball in the back of the net, but you've got to take up certain positions when the ball comes into your feet. It's not about turning players. It's not about making opportunities. It's about holding the ball, playing the way you're facing, and then getting involved on the next phase.
With the exception of the kid that went back to Italy, the big centre forward.
Zeko.
Have they played with a conventional number 9 at any period of time?
Well, I would say Aguero
plays. Was he a conventional number 9?
He does play there. He plays on the shoulder. He can link up. He's good. He's got a strong physique. He can hold the ball up. He knew that position. But to ask Raheem, who's generally a winger, to play in there, I think it's a difficult call, and especially when you've had 2 league starts this season. And the reason for that is because Jack Grealish has gone in and done superbly well. I have to admit that. And if I was picking the team, there's no reason to take Jack Grealish out of that side. So what you're saying is correct. Either Raheem decides that he's going to play that false number 9, or he maybe starts looking for another alternative for a club.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.